Let's go ahead and listen. At the beginning of all this epoxy on these surfaces started out as a bridge preservation in the state of Tennessee back in the 90s. Put a Washington State granite on an old bridge over here on Briley Parkway. And that's how we got started in doing these epoxies on these bridge decks. And then all of a sudden, it comes along this little material called bauxite. We get a call from the safety office asking materials and test out here, is there anything we can put on Conference Drive that would help us keep those cars on? And the guy, it's Steve Allen, he was in a carpool, come down around the curve, slid her out, round, up against the wall. There you go. You know, we slid out of his lane and all that kind of stuff, and we just happened to have a company called Prismo. And they had a product called Tire Grip. Now, Tire Grip is still around. The formulation is not the same. It had an old creosote chemical in it, and which was creosote, which is kind of harmful, and some people breathe it and stuff like it and get sick. Actually, one of our guys got sick. But we went out there and put it out. We did a demonstration. The manufacturer says, yes, I'll do this, but I can't bring a contractor in and spend. And at the time, guys, this stuff was a lot more money to put down. This is 10, 12, 15 years ago. I said, well, we'll supply the labor. Boy, that hurts. And the traffic control, you supply the material. And that's how we got started doing demos. And that's how we got started creating our QPL for bridge deck preservation. And then when the bauxite come along, said, you know what? We got 30 QPL lists. We have 40 now. We have 30 QPL. That's 31 is going to be high friction surface treatment and bauxite on it. We got with maintenance, and we did this 2 or 3 years, a very few little projects. And all of a sudden, it just bust wide open with FHWA and all that. Well, originally, we got started doing these demos in-house, and everything on that QPL at the time, and some of them right now, has been demoed by me. This is the project that Brian was talking about. We got so good with this. Now let me go ahead and give a shout out. We got the TDOT Bridge Inspection guys right here, right? Bridge repair, bridge inspection. Brian Hurst's dad worked for bridge repair here. We teamed up with bridge repair materials and tests, and we did all these demos. Of course, bridge repair works for structures. Wayne Seeger and I have been working together for years. When he was bridge repair engineer, and now he's structural engineer, and we still do this. So our bridge repair guys work with us a lot, and we know how to do this. Here we are on 440 on a Saturday morning in October, taping off the lines for that road that we talked about and Brian showed earlier. What we do is get out there, and you can see, let me back up one, you can see all the banging of the wall. I got a pointer somewhere. Ain't that one.
You did.
Oh, ain't that one either. Got it out there. Oh, it's that red one. Well, I got glasses on.
Get that one was a play.
Okay, we're going to get this. You'll see where they've been banging the wall. Now, if you'll notice, what we did in this situation, we're doing this by hand. We've done several demonstrations. When we put them out for the product guys, and we look at them over a winter and through a year, about a year, then we put them on a QPL if they're satisfied. You'll notice here we did 2 crews. We had an 800-foot bridge out there on 440. They've been banging that wall left and right. And so what we did, they asked us if we could do this. We paid for the material only, and we got 2 crews, and we just walking in. You can see me right here. I'm supervising. Ain't doing anything. But as you'll notice, as we get started, you got 2 guys. These are the most 2 important guys right here. These mixers. They can make or break you. Now we can sling that stuff out there every which way loose and all that. And get, there's other troubles you can have. But these 2 guys, if they don't mix an A and a B, you're in trouble. So, and if you'll notice in this bottom picture right here, there's going to be a crew going north, and then there's us going south. We're going to do 1 lane. We got right in the very middle of the lane, 400 foot one way, 400 foot the other way. Now, I believe you'll notice, this is sort of the next day. What we did is we did one lane. Got it done in about 2.5 hours, putting the aggregate on it. We let it cure for another 2 more hours, and then we're sweeping it. Saturday afternoon, 3 o'clock, you can't even tell we was there. We turn around and do the next lane, if you'll notice. This is button up against the now. You'll notice on all of these pictures, traffic is still going. We've got them slowed down. Pretty good crawl, but you know, and you have to be when you're out there on something that large. And Frank talked about that earlier. On these local roads, we've been out with Williamson County, the county guys, to cover a bridge that was in a local program, did not do very well. And we went out there and taught those guys how to put this down, and now they're getting ready to start doing their own. If you'll notice, we butted up against the other lane, and I had several pictures of this. It's kind of shortened it up, but if you'll notice, two guys squeeze in, and there again, that's maybe that cigar in my mouth. And we're getting it done, you know, and the guys back here are throwing the aggregate on it. Two squeegee guys working the epoxy. Finishing up, you take the sweeper to it, sweeping everything over to the side. Now he's going to pick that aggregate up, and it's probably some of that aggregate we had in those barrels out there. We saved every bit of that. It was so expensive, we saved every bit of it. We use it again, like on patching materials, to cover up patching materials when we do stuff, just to give it a little more friction. And then you end up with something like that. That's a nice looking project right there. And it was all done by hand, and it was all done by knuckleheads, including me. So, and if you will back up, this one picture, right? You see this guy right here? Frank, you know him. That's Glenn Owen.
Oh, yeah, okay.
He's from the UK. You got to remember, this all started in Europe. And Glenn brought this over. He was with Prismo at the time. And I'll tell you a little story about him later. But there's your technical advisor. So when you buy this material, you'll notice in that special provision we give you, that guy needs to be there. That rep needs to be there helping you out. You bought the material, he needs to be there. And you put it down, at least until you're very, very comfortable. Bridge repair, there's nothing to it. These guys have been doing it so long. We're backing up. We had everything up on everything is up on a trailer with paper. We didn't spill stuff everywhere, which it can be done. And once it's on the ground, it's on the ground. So there you go. Now, all of a sudden, FHWA and 4 or 5 others from ADSA created this high friction surface council. And they called this boy from Tennessee to get him to help him with the spec. That group right there is industry, reps, 2 FHWA guys, one of them's retired, one of them's in this room. Myself and Joseph Kerstetter. Joe took the picture. This is a team that wrote PP 79, the provisional standard for high friction surface treatments on pavements, concrete and asphalt. With guide in there on how to do it, and how the contractor should do it, how the contractor should be certified, how everything is in that package. I took that again and wrote a special provision for Tennessee based off our QPL, which you have in front of you. Okay? So these guys work really hard, and we're still working. This is not over with. We're still tweaking everything. We're actually, every Monday, every Monday, we have a webinar on a installation guide. On an HFST installation guide. I mean detailed installation guide. You know, you've seen it live out here, but we're going to give you pictures, how to do it, what to look for, what not to do, and everything. It really covers it all, mechanically, by hand, or anything. So we're excited about that. Now, this QPL in front of you, you go back to your city, municipality, or county, you have everything. You don't have to do any testing. You don't have to do an improving of the product. We're doing that. We used to do it in-house ourselves. We put it out, watch it for a year, run skid on it, go out there and look at it every month. Well, now, NTPEP, which is under the AASHTO umbrella, NTPEP is the National Transportation Product Evaluation Program. That's where states all get together and decide who's going to test what. So state of Washington, state of Tennessee, state of Louisiana don't have to all do the same thing. One state takes this kind of products. We do pavement markings like that, raised pavement construction materials, polymer concrete overlays. So every state doesn't have to have their own program. This program's been going on since the 80s. And I've been here since the 80s, since 1980. I got 35 and a half years going on. So I've pretty much seen it all. This is the best program that's ever come out of AASHTO, other than the books. Okay? So what it is, it's up there in Lexington, Kentucky. Polymer concrete. We had an asphalt. We have a field test and a laboratory test. The laboratory. This may be Greek, viscosity, gel time, infrared. Infrared. That's a fingerprint of that epoxy and all of its materials inside that. In other words, if it doesn't match, that's not the same epoxy. Okay, we're getting down to the nitty gritty on that. We're getting really close. Okay, the aggregate, gradation, soundness, absorption. Let me tell you something, let me tell you right now. We allow 2 aggregates in this state. High friction, only 1, and that's bauxite. We do allow the flint from Oklahoma. It comes from Pincher, Oklahoma. If you'll look at it on Google Maps, from the air, Pincher, Oklahoma, you'll see where they mined lead and zinc for World War II. It's one of the largest EPA superfunds there is. But there's piles of this flint rock, this aftermarket rock that they got out, getting the lead and zinc and all that out for the war. So they got piles of it. And it's owned, a lot of them are owned by Native American families. And there's a guy out there that sells this stuff, grades it out, does gradations. And we use it on bridge deck in tangent areas. We did that to cheapen it up. We're getting great skid numbers. We're not getting bauxite skid numbers. It's close, but not close enough for Dan Lane to say in a horizontal curve. We're going to stick with bauxite. Okay? There again, we got all the neat and cured resin. We test all that. Coming in, we do lot numbers and everything. And then, let me show you about we got 3 test decks. We got an asphalt pavement. This is how you prep it. This is the air wash. Now this has also a meter on it to keep moisture from coming out the end of the thing. It's called an oil trap, water trap type thing. And you want to get, he's got a long rod, he's getting on there, he's just getting on anything, any loose off that asphalt. That's all you do, okay? Concrete pavement, though, is a different story. It needs to be shot blasted. So does the bridge deck. And you'll notice these pictures are at night because we go up on a Friday night and spend the whole weekend in Lexington. We go up on a Friday night. We do this Friday night until about 2 o'clock in the morning. We're back up at 6 when all the producers come out. I'm on the bridge deck. Joe is on concrete pavement and somebody else is on the asphalt pavement. You got contractors working all weekend putting their products down. And this is what we do. Of course, the bridge deck takes 2 layers. And then we have a roughness concrete surface prep pad that it has to meet or get close to. You can, it's a texture. You can buy these at your local engineering store. And then the application on asphalt pavement. We just did some asphalt pavement outside. These are the salesmen and the product manufacturers coming out and putting their product down. We're watching every move they make. We take temperatures, conditions, we map cracks in the deck and all that kind of stuff. This is in Lexington, state of Kentucky. There again, that's, he's broadcasting, he's putting the epoxy out, they're broadcasting the stone. They get it all covered up, they sweep it looks like that. That's a 200 foot test section, and we needed that so we can get a skid test. Now, we're not finished. Even though that's done, we go back out 3 months later and they'll do a bond test on it. They do a skid test and all other types of tests. It's still in the field. Now, I'll tell you that this works. We have demoed every manufacturer in this state. Ourselves, we did. Then we moved to the test deck and we gave them a year to 2 year grace period to get on that test deck. The very first year, one of them on our QPL, they let their salesman go out and put it out. Well, it was a disaster. And I had to pull them off, even though I probably knew what the problem was. We had to do it because now we use this test deck. And failed. They come back the next year, put it out the right way, they're back on the list. So that's how it works. Right now, you ain't got to do anything, okay? Concrete pavement, spread, feed the chickens, get ready to sweep. That's what it looks like on a Sunday morning in the fall. And that was a concrete interstate. The bridge deck is a little different. There's your first layer. Some people like to use the roofing paper on the end so they can spill and be sloppy with it. When you pull it off, it looks really neat. It's like using tape and paint. All right, you spread the aggregate. But guess what? After that aggregate is spread and it's swept off, you're putting another layer on. See that picture? They're going back over. Yes, sir.
Manny, what's your time frame between, do you have to let that sit?
You have to let it cure, and it can be anywhere from 2 hours to 6 hours. You know, at times. It depends on when you put it. Go ahead,
I
Frank.
was gonna say, depends on temperature
Depends on temperature.
and product.
Yeah, and product. But in this situation, that they came back the next day and did it. We had the lane shut down and all that. And so they knew it was swept, and they could prep it and then come back. And let me tell you something. The first layer seals the deck on a bridge deck. The second layer is your wearing course. And I'm telling you, man, double layer of this, you won't have to do anything to that deck for a long time. And guess what? When you need to do something to the deck, you know what you do? Cover it back up again. That's what it looks like. We've done so many up there in 3 years that we've had to move to the other side of the bridge. This is the Clays Ferry Bridge in Lexington, Kentucky, over the Kentucky River. It's 263 foot above water. Boy, I was sure hoping I didn't have to jump. Because it is 3 lanes. Now, this is what you have in your packet. You got the high friction surface treatment, PP 79 now. And that was done by the group that came to Nashville, and it was sort of like herding cats. And that guy from the UK, at the end of the day, we put it on, we got in groups, Frank, and at the end of the day, anybody know what Goo Goo is, Taylor Canyon County Goo Goo? Well, I had Goo Goos for everybody. You know, I thank them for coming and everything. And that UK guy, he goes, what's a Goo Goo? I said, eat it. Boy, you seen his eyes when it lit up. He ordered something to carry back to his kid. So, and then we also have the transportation program, PCO, and then we have a special provision. You got everything you need to do this. QPL 23D is in overlay systems for bridge decks. Now, we're here to talk about high friction surface treatment, and we are, and this is right. What we do coincide a little bit in our program. So we do have a list of the thin overlay systems, bridge decks that can use the flint, and it can use the bauxite if they want to, but I imagine they have a choice, they'll use it cheap. And then you have a QPL 31, high friction surface treatments, bauxite on it. TDOT's use of high friction, statewide program, Brian went over that, statewide program, Brian took something and ran with it, and I'm telling you, Kentucky's done a great job. Tennessee is right on their heels. I mean, like he said, we was going out and looking at projects that they were doing, and I was really impressed, Brian, by y'all's group and Matt and how y'all picked those out. And there were some good areas, and it obviously needed it. It obviously needed it. And bridge preservation side, this is what we do with Williamson County. They come in, we told them that we have these overlay systems, the same thing as a high friction surface, except one uses flint, one uses bauxite. And we went out and taught those guys how to mix by hand, how to get the wear wells and feed the chickens. And they're going to have us come back out and they're going to do a curve or two in their high friction. So they're going to buy the material and do it themselves. It was so easy. We did it in a day. We did the whole bridge in a day. Close one lane, close the other. So no big deal. Wasn't a real big bridge, but we done it in a day. We're gone, and next day I just went out there to look at it, and it's perfect. So, but that's what it does. And statewide program instructions, rehab for existing decks. We're looking at that. And the new bridge decks. Like to see them put on new bridge decks. My director Brian Egan back here. We talked about this before. And we I thought, man, let's get this thing built and put this thing on right off the bat. He goes, whoa, wait a minute. He goes, well, wait a minute. Let's let that thing wear a little bit or something. I said, well, you're right. We'll have to prep that new bridge deck. Brand new bridge deck may be as bad as an old one, right, Frank?
That's right.
So you gotta get that, you gotta get that stuff right. So there you go, coming in. But we got our heads turning on this. Instructors knows about it. Because I'll tell you right now, that 440 job out here, it's got holes in it this big that delaminated, but it's still functional. And we can go out there and fix it if we want to, but there's really no need to. I mean, it is still functional. And guess what on top of that? It didn't have a damn bit of prep. We just put some blowers on it. We was that critical of getting something done, being that fit. And most of the demos, 90% of the demos we didn't even shot blast on concrete. And it still stuck to it very well.
Did you have tiny?
Huh?
Did you have tiny?
We had tining, we've done tining too, and that'll grip.
That helps.
Because that'll help. That'll be just like a T, you know, it just gives it something to grip. So prep is critical, and you need a good clean surface for it to grab to. You know, that's what you want. You don't want nothing slick. It's just going, you know. And that's pretty much it. I do know we did 120,000, maybe a little more, Matt, this year. 120,000 square yards, 60 in each region, 60 something, and y'all gonna do more this year, correct? So we got more, we'll be going out and looking at these. But we went out and looked at after all these was over. In some of those supers, there's a little question. You can tell it thinned out on some. Functional. Please let me tell you, it's functional. But we do need to take a little more issues, and I'm gonna get with the inspectors and all that about on the super elevations. Now, anything above grade, Frank's in here, no. I wrote that special provision. In Chattanooga, State Route 153 is a big flyover in Chattanooga. We all know it. There was a girl from a car that hit the thing, and it was a terrible accident. And they went out there, and the bridge deck is like glass. You know, it's polished and everything. And Brian and them put that in, and that's a big bridge. Well, it's a very busy bridge. You really don't want to put one layer on something like that. We put a double layer on anything above grade. That's ramp, causeway, anything like that. Anything above grade, we went ahead and did sort of like a bridge preservation, but using the bauxite. And I'm going to tell you guys, you can sleep at night when that's out there. They asked me the question. Guys got over in the corner. What about local aggregates? Danny Lane, why do you say bauxite only? You know what my answer was. I can sleep at night. And that's it. And that's all they needed to know. Yes, sir.
Wouldn't the first layer is getting covered up, maybe it wouldn't have to be bauxite?
Yeah, you still need bauxite.
Yeah.
Oh, you did get on bauxite on the first layer. No, non-bauxite on the first layer.
We've had somebody try that.
We tried that.
Yeah, it's been tried.
Oh.
Yeah.
But a cheaper filler is what you're doing.
Keep in mind, your thickness is, like very thin, so you're still gonna see the aggregate. But what happens in the first layer is that acts like a key wave to the second layer.
Right.
But you still get part of that exposed. Some of the bigger aggregates gonna come through.
Right. And if you'll notice that in that double layer, it takes almost double the material you used on the single. But I'm gonna tell you, and then you use a flat squeegee on top of that too to do the second layer. So it works really, really well, and it comes out pretty thick, and it doesn't really big bump on bridges or anything like that. It's nothing that terrible or anything like that. So, but that's pretty much it. I would, if you have any questions, go right ahead. But I want you to we're gonna go out there and sweep that thing. I want you to feel of it, look at it. You're all sitting there. I know the wheels are turning right now. You got everything in your front of you that you need to buy this stuff. You got technical advice. I'll come and help you. My director back there said, wait a minute.
And I want to point out that there's a lot of little details.
Little details.
that can cover. Like the mixer that he used is a special kind of mixer.
Right.
Don't go to Home Depot and buy a mortar mixer because it creates air into the epoxy.
Right.
And it's a lot of little things like that that make a big difference. Notice the container, rounded bottom.
Bottom rounded.
If you ever see one that's got a square bottom and you try to mix it, your A and B will get in the corners and it'll cause contamination and you'll have failures in those
The
spots.
whole time you mix it.
Yeah. And it's so, and you notice he had a bigger container with a 5-gallon ratio, you know, A and B, 5 gallon. You need more room than
Right.
just the bucket. The
Yeah.
first job, the pictures you showed, they were mixing in buckets.
Mixing it in a trash can.
Yeah,
Too.
but,
Oh, yeah,
the
mix it
trash
in-
cans are the better.
Yeah, we got, well, I'll tell you that was, we had 2 squeegees, we had people mixing so fast, but we had mixers that were dedicated mixers.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
And if you do this with your group, Public Works or anybody that you want to do it, you dedicate to mixing, you dedicate to 2 things, and that's all they do.
Well, the training class where Danny mentioned that we're working on has all that information that we're talking about. Because I mean, it's like, what kind of squeegee notches should you put in?
Exactly.
What kind of,
And they will wear down, Frank.
oh, yes, sir.
We can't use squeegees that almost on every job. They will wear down. Go ahead.
I got a question. I know that for the last contract we let, it was in construction, was having a problem with the sweeping afterwards.
Yes.
When we do it, when they do it in the field, they're using a ride-on big sweeping machine, and they gotta make sure it gets up, because even when we went out there, it was still rooster tailing
Sure.
off of it. And for motorcycles, you wanna make sure you clean that. You don't want them sliding off of
Right.
high friction surface, but for people to do it in the field, what's the best way to clean a surface? I mean,
Well, I'm
we're
gonna
fixing to do it
tell you.
now, but.
I'm gonna tell you, a power sweeper, and I've seen them backs, I've seen backs where you still had to use a sweeper. Do you agree?
I totally agree with you.
Okay.
In our spec, remember, we put in sweeper, a lot of people lobbied for that. If you're gonna recycle or reuse,
Right.
resweep, the vac is fine,
Right.
but you're gonna have, even, I don't know how many times you vac sweep, you're gonna end up with probably more, you know, material
Smaller.
coming, yeah.
Yeah, and I'll tell you another thing, they also have one that goes on a Bobcat.
I saw
trips
that.
you. I liked it. It has a sweeper inside, and it throws its bush hog, and it's about this wide, and it goes down, and it sweeps up, throws it over, and you go over and you dump it back in the truck.
Right.
That's the reuse. And it worked out really well, and it can't be that much, it's an attachment for a Bobcat.
Well, actually, the Volvo actually makes that. I
The
saw
Volvo?
it. Yeah, the Volvo, but you could probably mount it on a Bobcat.
Yeah, what they did, and you know, when it popped out, and I was impressed with it.
Yeah.
Now, what Brian brought up is very, very important. We say a week after, we really like that contractor to come back out there and sweep it again.
3 days.
Your maintenance guys may need to go out there a month or 2 after and sweep it again. You know what I mean? Because it just does that. That's just the nature of it. And you need to get them off the shoulders if you can. So if you're gonna save it, you sweep it pretty hard. Now, you don't wanna grind on it right off the bat, but you wanna give it a good sweep.
Yeah, the term we use is you know, there's 2 different things you need to be aware of. Naturally, you get shedding, is what Danny's talking about. That's a normal process. I've had people put it down and like, oh, well, alarm is coming up, it's coming. That's not, no, that's actually a normal process, that's shedding. Rattling is when it's coming out of the epoxy. Then you got a problem, okay? And that would be somebody did something wrong.
Somebody did that, and I'm glad I haven't seen that. Now, I told y'all, in that first section we did out there, we used a full barrel of aggregate to put on it. But we turned around and collected half of it back when it cured. We had to have that full one to do it, even though we got half of it back. You need that weight on there, I'll talk about it. Yes, ma'am.
What would be the cost of the full barrel?
You know, that's, I don't have the numbers for bauxite right off the top of
Oh,
my
right
head.
now, if you're talking cost per ton,
barrel?
yeah, I don't know about a barrel, but a ton is what we usually see it sold as. Right now, it's going for about $500 a ton. We're at an all-time low for bauxite. Flint, and it's a lot of this preparation and shipping. Right now, if you were to buy flint, we just had a project where they put flint in, it was about $350 a ton. And it's all of the crushing and the packaging.
Right.
This material has to be dry and kept dry. You get it wet, you ruined it, you have to do a special process to dry it back
Exactly.
out.
Yeah, you keep the aggregates under the hood, you keep your epoxies. Even on that October, we kept the epoxy indoors. We knew it was a cool morning,
Yeah,
but we went out there with warm epoxy.
a real good key, right?
Yes, sir, Don.
Where do you get it from?
The bauxite? Frank, there's 5 processors. Great Lakes,
More than that.
is it more than that now? We'll get you all that list. Great Lakes Minerals is one.